Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Bobby Heenan Show, where we bring you the most entertaining interviews in the world of professional wrestling. Today, we have a living legend, the immortal Bobby Heenan, that's me. And of course, we have Hulk Hogan. Welcome to you, Hulk Hogan.
Hey, brother, doing great. Always good to catch up with the fans and talk about the good old days.
It's always a pleasure to be in the presence of someone almost as great as myself. Almost. Hulk, you've had an incredible career. What's the secret to your success?
Well, you know, it's all about the training, saying your prayers, and eating your vitamins, brother.
Oh, eating your vitamins? Hulk, I heard your daily vitamin intake includes gummy bears and Flintstones chewables. No wonder you're so immoral.
Well, you know, I like to keep it fun. Got to stay young at heart, brother.
Young at heart? Hulk, the only thing young about you is the age on your driver's license, and even that's a stretch. All right, let's talk about your famous leg drop finisher, Hulk. How did you come up with that?
Well, brother, it just felt right. The crowd loved it, and it became my signature move.
Signature move? Hulk, calling your leg drop a signature move is like calling a clown nose formal wear. It's all for show.
You can't argue with success, brother. Got to keep the moves, the looks, the tan.
Speaking of looks, is that your real hair, or did a small animal crawl onto your head and die there?
It's all real hair, Bobby.
Let's talk career mishaps. Suburban Commando, Mr. Nanny, no holds barred. What were you thinking? Were you even thinking at all?
I was thinking about feeding my family brother. I still get royalties on those movies, even if I won't be winning any acting awards.
I've seen better drama in a kindergarten play. Hogan is so over the top. He makes soap operas look subtle.
It's good for business, brother.
When you pose in the ring after a match and scrunch up your face like a prune, I'm convinced you were holding something back.
I don't hold back, brother. I put it all on the line for the fans.
Yeah, I was thinking more like you needed the bathroom. No, were the lines too long before the match? Perhaps you need to plan your time better.
I think all things considered, my time is used exceptionally well, Bobby.
Ric Flair knows at least a dozen good wrestling moves that he actually uses. You stick with just the first 3 that you found for half price at the dollar store. That must take real commitment.
I got to give fans what they want, Bobby.
So what your fans are desperate for is a spray-on tan that makes you look like a lunchtime special at a Red Lobster.
Well, I don't know about that, brother.
And your fans want a pantomime show and a cheap t-shirt when they could be enjoying actual wrestling?
What can I say? I put on a show the fans love. They're happy. I'm happy. How many fans do you have in the audience here, Bobby?
Less than 0. We found these bums in the alley before the show and herded them in here and promised them you would buy them some cheap red wine.
Oh, that doesn't work for me, brother.
That's all the time we have. Before we potentially trampled to death by bums rushing the stage desperate for a fix, and I, the immortal Bobby Heenan, exit stage left even. Anything more to say to the folks at home, Hogan?
I just want to say I was not contractually obliged to offer wine to vagrants.
And there you have it, the immortal, or as I call him, immoral Hulk Hogan. If you'll excuse me, I have some more freaks and degenerates to meet for next week's show. Cue the music! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the most electrifying talk show in all of sports entertainment, the Bobby Heenan Show. It's important to remember I'm not just a pretty face, you know. I'm also very, very smart. In fact, I'm probably the smartest man you've ever met, but then again, you already knew that. Tonight, we have a special guest who thinks he's tough as nails, but between you and me, he's more like a rusty old tin can. Please welcome Sergeant Slaughter.
Thank you, Bobby. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine, Sarge. I've always admired your ability to make everyone around you feel like they're in boot camp. But let's be honest, I've seen tougher drill sergeants at a kid's birthday party.
Well, Bobby, the thing
And speaking of parties, Sarge, I heard your last victory celebration was so quiet, the neighbors called the cops for noise disturbance on account of the crickets chirping.
Now, hold on just a minute, Bobby.
But seriously, Sarge, I have to hand it to you. You've been in more battles than I've had hot meals, and trust me, that's saying something. But let's not forget, the toughest opponent you ever faced was a stubborn jar of pickles.
All right, Bobby, enough of your shenanigans.
Oh, relax, Sarge. I'm just pulling your bootstraps. But let's get down to business. Rumor has it that your drill instructors were so tough, they made the Grim Reaper sign a waiver before coming near you.
All right, Bobby, you've had your fun. You're cruising for a bruising. But mark my words, when it comes to the ring, I'm not someone to be taken lightly.
I have no doubt about that, Sarge. After all, you've survived battles with some of the toughest competitors in the world. But let's face it, when it comes to a war of words, you're outgunned, outmaneuvered, and outclassed. By yours truly, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Bobby, it's like I said to Cobra Commander, you can run all you like, but you can't hide from me.
So, Sarge, tell me, what's it like being the toughest guy in the locker room? I mean, besides having to carry around that heavy burden of being the second toughest guy, after me, of course.
Well, Bobby, it's all about discipline, dedication, and determination. I've trained harder than anyone else, and I've never backed down from a challenge.
It's like they say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And lucky for me, I'm the toughest and the smartest. So when things get tough, I get going, and I take the credit, of course.
I bet you do you. You're a coward through and through, Bobby. You don't know what real dedication is. I train so hard, I'm tougher than the molten steel they made into girders holding up this very building. My back is made of steel cables, and my chin is made of granite, you little weasel.
With all that metal in your body, you should just open your own warehouse. But I do believe you. You do train hard. I mean, Sarge, you must have trained so hard that even your sweat breaks a sweat. But let's not forget, determination can only take you so far. Last I checked, they don't hand out championships for being the most determined.
That may be true, Bobby, but when you step into the ring, it's not just about winning titles. It's about proving yourself, earning the respect of your peers, and giving the fans a show they'll never forget.
Oh, I agree, Sarge, and you certainly have given the fans something to remember. I mean, who could forget that one time you tried to intimidate a referee with your tough guy stare, and he just laughed in your face?
Well, Bobby, as they say, laughter is the best medicine, but when it comes to facing me in the ring, my opponents aren't laughing for long.
Oh, I'm sure they're not, Sarge. I mean, who wouldn't be intimidated by a guy whose battle cry sounds like a duck with laryngitis?
You can joke all you want, Bobby, but when the bell rings, it's all business. And I'm in the business of kicking butt and taking names.
Well, Sarge, I have no doubt that you'll give it your all, but remember, in this business, it's not just about how loud you shout or how hard you hit. It's about strategy, cunning, and dare I say, a little bit of brains.
Anyone who steps in the ring with me, Bobby, is going to get kicked 6 ways from Sunday. If you ever get out of that fool chair of yours and want to step into the ring, I'll be waiting.
Well, folks, that wraps up another episode of the Bobby Heenan Show. Remember, if you ever need a laugh, just think of Sergeant Slaughter trying to outwit me. It's about as likely as him winning a beauty pageant. Play the music. Welcome back to the Bobby Heenan Show, where we bring you the biggest names in entertainment. Tonight, we have the pleasure of hosting a true icon of comedy, the incomparable Gene Wilder.
Thank you, Bobby. It's a pleasure to be here, although I must admit I've been warned about your legendary wit. They say you're sharper than a wrestler's elbow drop.
Oh, Gene, you've already got the crowd on your side with lines like that. But let's cut to the chase. You've had a remarkable career filled with memorable roles and timeless performances. Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, Willy Wonka. What have you been up to lately?
Oh, I've been around the house mostly. Sometimes I go out for a loaf of bread or the morning paper, maybe do a watercolor in the afternoon.
Do you have a highlight from your career you'd like to share?
Bobby, if I had to pick just one highlight, it would have to be the joy of bringing laughter to audiences around the world. Whether it's through the magic of film or the art of storytelling, there's nothing quite like seeing a smile light up someone's face.
Well said, Gene, but let's talk about something a little less glamorous, wrestling. Now, I've heard you're a fan of the sport. Care to share your thoughts on the wild world of professional wrestling?
Bobby, wrestling is like theater on steroids. It's a fascinating blend of athleticism, drama, and spectacle. Plus, where else can you see a grown man in spandex flying through the air like a superhero?
You've got a point there, Gene, but let's not forget the unsung heroes behind the scenes, the managers. As someone who's managed some of the greatest wrestlers in history, I can tell you firsthand how important our role is in shaping the narrative.
Ah, the managers, the puppet masters pulling the strings behind the curtain. Bobby, you've always struck me as a master manipulator, but in the best possible way. Your wit and charm are your greatest weapons, and you wield them with the precision of a surgeon.
And flattery will get you everywhere, Gene, but you're not too shabby yourself. Your ability to captivate an audience with your wit and charm is second to none. In fact, I'd say you're the Gene Wilder of comedy.
Indeed, Bobby. I've always found the human experience in all its forms to be endlessly fascinating. Wrestling is just another facet of that rich tapestry. If you can combine the drama of wrestling with humor, well, then you have got something, my friend. Whether it's in the squared circle or on the silver screen, storytelling is a universal language that connects us all.
It also connects me to a paycheck. It's true, I am a creative genius. In fact, I'm too big for just wrestling. They ought to give me a game show and maybe make me honorary leader of the free world. I don't want to do any of the actual work. I can hire somebody else for that.
Well, Bobby, if you want to run a chocolate factory, I know somebody who may be hiring. It is, however, a rather hazardous environment, and the elevator also is quite demented.
Well, on that note, it's time to end the show. I got to go buy some Wonka bars. I might just find one of those golden tickets.
You just might, Bobby Heenan. You just might. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to, do it. Want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life I know. To compare with pure imagination, living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. And now I've really got to pee.
And don't we all, my brother in comedy? Okay, let's cue the music and hit the John. Welcome to another episode of the Bobby Heenan Show, where I, the brain, take time to explain why everybody in the world is stupid except me. Now tonight's guest is a ladies' man, parts his hair down the middle, and the word is he not only steams a good ham, but flies a good ship. It is none other than Captain Kirk.
It is great to be here, Bobby. What better place than here? What better time than now?
So, Captain Kirk, what is it like being a starship captain?
Well, Bobby, it is fantastic. You've got a big chair with all the buttons in the middle of the room. Big screen TV right in front of you. Great view. On Friday nights, we get together and watch Klingon boxing. Full walk in closet and stocked bar in your captain's quarters. Of course, there are missions and duties and the like, so it's not all fun and games.
How extravagant. I do like a good chair. Can you tell me any secrets about the Enterprise?
I could tell you, Bobby Heenan, but then I would have to kill you. Our 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Of course, Kirk is a character I play on television. It's all make-believe. I am really William Shatner.
Don't worry, Captain. Your secrets and plans are all safe with the brain.
I don't think we could use you on the Enterprise, Bobby. You're a schemer. That doesn't make for good leadership. You can't inspire men with a weasel suit, but perhaps as a villain of the week on some alien planet, no doubt filled with extremely lovely, beautiful women of all shapes, species, and sizes.
That sounds like a role I could sink my teeth into and get hands on with, Captain. Now, tell us about that infamous kiss with Uhura. That was saucy.
It was Bobby. She was stunningly beautiful and incredibly intelligent. What a woman, truly one of a kind.
Tell me, Captain, did Mr. Spock ever actually find anything? He was always in search of one thing or another. Bigfoot, Amelia Earhart, Jimmy Hoffa, a rise in his paycheck.
Not only did he find Bigfoot, but he accidentally led him onto the Enterprise, swapping places with a crew member. We had a transporter accident and beamed up the wrong humanoid. The Bigfoot, or Big Feet if you prefer, ran amok, causing all kinds of chaos. Mr. Spock had to use a Vulcan nerve pinch to subdue the beast. It was a mostly peaceful creature that we had scared half to death when it started tearing into valuable machines and consoles.
It sounds like more than a few of the wrestlers I manage when they get backstage.
Mr. Scott had to make some repairs. We kept Bigfoot on the brig, then returned him from whence he came. The thick hair was in my captain's chair for weeks. The damn thing even tried to fly the Enterprise. But I mean, good God, man, that's my job. We can't have prehistoric, hairy-handed ape men flying starships. This isn't Planet of the Apes. It's a mockery. Get those stinking paws off of my chair.
Quite the adventure. Now, did Spock ever help Robert Stack solve some of those unsolved mysteries?
Did he? Mr. Spock solved all of the unsolved miseries, but the network were not happy. They said, if you solve everything, we won't have a show. So the network put the kibosh on that idea big time. Now, I don't watch ridiculous animated movies about robots, but I do remember Spock went on to voice some purple evil emperor robot in a film that had Robert Stack and Orson Welles, God rest his soul. I would have just joined the unemployment line or built a motorbike and toured the world before doing that kind of lowbrow entertainment, I tell you. Sure, we had the Trek animated series, but that was in our contracts. Nobody wants to do animation. Foul, dirty stuff not befitting of a captain of my caliber, I tell you.
So we are all agreed, animation stinks. Don't do it, folks, and if you do, consider checking yourself into rehab or getting professional help. Captain, do you have any closing words of wisdom for the audience at home?
Well, Bobby, as great as it flying around the universe being a captain, it doesn't compare to the thrills of a Commodore. If you want some adventures right at home, you can buy the amazing new Commodore 64. It has a tape and disc drive, RAM expansion port for program or video games. It can make your eyes hurt with its blue text on screen or give you headaches when the game crashes for the third time and you have to reload it all. Now how much would you pay for such amazing computing power, 8-bit graphics and 64 kilobytes of RAM? Don't answer just yet, because it is available right now in stores for the interstellar price of $595. But act fast. They won't be in stores for long.
Okay, an advertorial I didn't agree to. The C-64 is amazing, but we can edit that bit out in post-production. Cue the music and fire up those warp engines, Scotty. Today we have a special guest who claims to be a never nude and an aspiring actor. He enjoys being a leather daddy and also frequently dresses up as a British nanny. Please welcome Tobias Funke.
Oh, it's ever so wonderful to be here with you today, Bobby. That's a very colorful outfit you are wearing.
The notes here say you like to take a banger in the mouth.
Oh, that's... no, in America we just call it a sausage in the mouth.
Tell us about that tractor pull you were recently a part of.
Tractor pull? Oh, a funny story. I thought it said actor pull. I was so embarrassed when I turned, but driving a tractor was a splendidly good time, apart from the fatalities.
Now, Tobias, let's get straight to the point. Never nude? Really? I mean, are you afraid of catching a cold in the shower or something?
Well, it's a psychological condition. I just feel more comfortable with a little extra coverage, you know?
Extra coverage? Sounds like you're auditioning for a role in the next big winter fashion line. What's the name of the designer, Captain Underpants?
Well, I never considered superhero roles, but...
Hold on, Tobias. I've got a great idea for your next movie. Picture this. The never nude Avenger fighting crime in cut-off shorts. You'd be a sensation.
Well, I never considered superhero roles, but...
And here's the kicker. Every time you defeat a villain, you could throw denim jackets at them. Talk about a fashion-forward crime fighter.
That's an interesting concept, Bobby. But my acting career has been more focused on serious...
It's serious? The only thing serious about your acting is how seriously people take your wardrobe choices. I bet even the wardrobe department in low-budget productions is telling you to loosen up.
My choices are a form of self-expression.
More like self-oppression. You know, Tobias, I've seen better fashion sense in a dollar store. Maybe it's time to consider a role in a nudist colony documentary. Tobias Funke, the man who dared to bear it all except his shorts.
Well, this interview took an unexpected turn.
Just like your career, Tobias. Unexpected and with questionable choices. But hey, at least you've got those never nude blues to keep you warm at night. Well done, by the way, on nearly poisoning your child with the wrong medication. Moron.
Maybe I should have stayed in the anal rapist business.
Now we're talking. A therapist who specializes in, well, you know. That might be your true calling, Tobias. Thanks for joining us today. And remember, folks, sometimes laughter is the best therapy, even if it comes at the expense of a complete and utter moron like leather daddy Tobias Bluth. Now get out, loser. Now.
That security guard is very strong. Hey, what are you doing? Ow, that hurts. I need those glasses for acting. This is the worst audition yet. Michael will be ever so disappointed in me.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that little interruption. Tobias, he makes morons look like geniuses. I've seen better exits at a clown car convention. And as for his acting ability, I've seen more convincing performances from my grandmother's dentures. And she's been in the ground for 10 years.
It's the Bobby Heenan Show. Why is it back? Nobody demanded it. Who cares? Here it is.
Welcome to the Bobby Heenan Show. Tonight's first guest is known as the most flatulent man in America. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Bobby Heenan Show, where we bring you the most entertaining and, let's say, aromatic interviews. Today, we have a guest who claims to be the most flatulent man in America. Please give it up for our olfactory sensation, Mr. Gasper McTootington.
Thank you, Bobby. It's a pleasure to be here.
I think I knew your mother.
You mean Ma?
Yeah, Manur, a real knockout of a lady. She didn't need to bother to go to the outhouse. She just stayed where she was and they built it around her. Gasper, I have to ask, how does one earn the prestigious title of the most flatulent man in America?
Well, Bobby, it takes years of dedication, a unique diet, and a certain fearlessness in embracing the sounds of nature.
Fearlessness, indeed. Now, I've heard you have a special talent for turning your emissions into music. Any chance we could get a little preview?
Well, I suppose I could give it a toot.
If you do pop song cover requests, I'd like to hear Sweet Fart of Mine by Gases and Roses, Kenny Brownlogg's Fart Loose, or Whoopi Houston's I Wanna Fart with Somebody. Alternatively, I would like to hear that Wham classic Fart Me Up Before You Go Go, or that one from band Yes called Owner of a Lonely Fart.
Well, Bobby, I don't know if I can belt out those classics, but we will have a try.
Bravo, that was a symphony of sense right there. Now, Gasper, do you have any tips for aspiring flatulence enthusiasts who might want to follow in your footsteps?
Absolutely, Bobby. It's all about timing, control, and most importantly, a diet rich in legumes and leafy greens. A rare genetic defect where literally everything makes me fart is just a fun bonus.
Gasper, your toots have a charisma deficit bigger than my wrestling career. Your one-man show, The Art of Fart, has been a flop across America. Legumes and leafy greens, you say? I guess we can call it the Gasper diet. Now tell me, Gasper, have you ever considered entering the competitive flatulence circuit?
Well, Bobby, I've thought about it, but I prefer to keep my talents more lighthearted and entertaining. I'm all about bringing joy through the power of the posterior.
Joy through the power of the posterior. Now that's a tagline. I've seen more control in a demolition derby than in your attempts to rein in those gas explosions. Gasper, do you have any special techniques for controlling the volume and pitch of your toots?
It's a delicate art, Bobby. Control comes with practice and, of course, a little flair for the dramatic. If I could sell a few more tickets to The Art of Fart, that would certainly help.
The flair for the dramatic. I like that. Gasper McTootington, thank you for joining us today. You've truly opened our eyes, or should I say our nostrils, to a unique world of talent. Gasper, your flatulence is so legendary, even skunks are sending you fan mail for your odor expertise.
Thank you, Bobby. It's been a gas.
I've heard better tunes from a car alarm than your attempt at a symphony, Gasper. Your toots are like a surprise party, only no one's celebrating. Well, folks, that's it for our first guest. Stay tuned for more surprises and, who knows, maybe even more unexpected talents coming up soon on The Bobby Heenan Show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Bobby Heenan Show. Today we have a special treat for you. Joining me is none other than the man with the gift of gab and the master of mischief, Jim Cornette. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bobby. Always a pleasure to be in the presence of greatness.
Flattery will get you everywhere, Jim. Now let's get down to business. I hear you've got some juicy stories for us today. Care to share any memorable ribs you've pulled on your fellow wrestlers?
Oh, where do I even begin, Bobby? There was this one time when we were on the road, and I decided to mess with old Ricky Morton. I swapped out his hairspray with super glue. You should have seen the look on his face when he tried to fix that pompadour.
Classic Cornette, always keeping things interesting. Now let's talk about rivals. You've had your fair share of adversaries in the ring. Any insults you'd like to hurl their way today?
Oh, absolutely. Let's start with that goody two-shoes, Hulk Hogan. The man's got more ego than brains. I mean, have you seen his haircut? It's like someone put a bowl on his head and just went to town with the clippers.
Any words of wisdom for our favorite punching bag, Sergeant Slaughter?
Sarge, oh, Sarge, the man's about as intimidating as a wet noodle. And don't even get me started on that ridiculous mustache of his. I've seen better facial hair on a prepubescent teenager.
It's amazing the talent you have, Jim. You've got a face for radio and a voice for silent movies. Yet somehow you managed to be on television for many years.
You've got me there, Bobby.
Jim Cornette, the only thing quicker than your wit is the expiration date on that mayonnaise sandwich you're hiding in your pocket.
Oh, coming from a guy who wears more sequins than a Vegas showgirl, I'll take that as a compliment.
Touché, Jim, touché. But let's not forget your legendary temper. I've seen toddlers with better control over their emotions than you.
Hey, when you're dealing with the incompetence I have to deal with, a little temper tantrum now and then is justified.
Blaming incompetence for your own shortcomings, classic Cornette move. But speaking of moves, let's talk about your in-ring skills, or should I say lack thereof? I've seen refrigerators with more agility than you.
Bobby, if I had a dime for every insult you've thrown my way, I'd be richer than Vince McMahon. But hey, keep 'em coming, I can take it.
Jim Cornette, the only thing more predictable than your rants is the sunrise.
Well, Bobby, you're about as trustworthy as a used car salesman with a history of selling lemons.
And Jim, you're like a broken record, always going on about the good old days. Newsflash, they're gone, just like your relevance.
Heenan, you're like a bad penny. You keep turning up, and nobody wants you.
Jim, you're the reason they invented the mute button on TVs. Do us all a favor and press it, would you?
Heenan, the only reason you got a career is because you're better at slithering than a snake in the grass.
Cornette, your commentary is as boring as a tax seminar. I'd rather listen to paint dry.
Heenan, you're like a cockroach. Indestructible, annoying, and nobody knows why you're still around.
Jim, I've got plenty more where that came from, but for now, let's call it a wrap on this roast. Thanks to our special guest, Jim Cornette, for being a good sport. Until next time, folks, cue the music.
Thank you. Fuck you. Bye.
You can't swear on this show, Jim. This is prime time.
For fuck's sake, why didn't you tell me earlier? You've got as much sense in your head, Bobby, as a sack of moldy shit trying to roll uphill.
At least I've got momentum on my side. Okay, good night, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show where brains meet brawn, where wit triumphs over muscle. That's right, it's the Bobby Heenan Show, and tonight we have a special guest that's sure to tickle your funny bone and maybe even stir up a little nostalgia. Please welcome Mo2 Joneser. Mo2 Joneser, welcome to the show, or should I say, the collector. Look at you holding on to those ancient relics like they're pure gold. Are you afraid they'll crumble to dust in your hands?
Well, Bobby, these comic books are like treasures from my childhood. Each one tells a story, and I just can't bear to part with them. Except when I sell them on eBay or at conventions. I collect some for me and some for trade.
Oh, I see. So you're basically a hoarder with a penchant for pulp fiction. Tell me, do you have a secret lair where you stash all these goodies, or are you keeping them under your mattress like a squirrel hoarding nuts for winter?
Well, I do have a dedicated room in my house for my collection. It's not quite a secret lair, but it's definitely my sanctuary.
The elusive collector's den. I bet you've got booby traps set up to keep nosy visitors at bay, huh? Or maybe a trap door that leads to a dungeon filled with comic book villains?
Bobby, you're quite the joker. But no, my collection room is just a cozy space where I can immerse myself in the wonderful world of comics.
Well, Joneser, you may not have trapdoors or dungeon dwellers, but I bet you've got some priceless gems hidden away in those dusty old boxes. Tell me, what's the crown jewel of your collection? And don't tell me it's just another issue of Superman.
Don't know if I'm ready to let the cat out of the bag on that one just yet.
Oh, come on, Joneser, spill the beans. I won't judge you too harshly for hoarding all those paper relics. After all, someone's got to keep the mothball industry afloat, right?
Well, Bobby, I suppose you could say I'm doing my part for the economy.
Economy, huh? More like you're single-handedly keeping the ancient art of paper conservation alive. Tell me, Joneser, have you ever considered selling your collection to fund a little trip to the 21st century?
Oh, Bobby, you're relentless. But no, I could never part with my beloved comics. They're like old friends to me.
Old friends, eh? Well, if that's the case, then your friends must be as wrinkled and worn out as you are. I mean, just look at you, Joneser. You're practically a relic yourself.
Now, Bobby, that's just uncalled for. I may be getting up there in years, but at least I'm not as two-faced as you.
Touche, Joneser, touche. Looks like you've got some fight left in you after all. But remember, I've got a sharp tongue and a quick wit, so watch your step or you might end up looking like one of your vintage comics, torn to shreds and begging for mercy.
Classic Heenan. You're quite a vintage yourself, Bobby, but I don't know if I could sell you on eBay. You are truly priceless.
And that's right, folks. You're looking at the man with the plan, the one and only Bobby the Brain Heenan. And remember, I'm not just any manager, I'm priceless.
Thanks for inviting me on the show, Bobby. It's a pleasure to be here.
I didn't invite you. In fact, you're not even on the guest list. How did you get in here?
Well, when the security guard went on his meal break, I just kind of sidled in. I was only hoping to sit in the audience, but ended up on the wrong end of the stage. Sorry about that.
And comic books? A grown man walking around with children's entertainment. Doesn't that embarrass you? How do you leave the house?
Well, I just open the door and walk out. How do you do it, Bobby?
Oh, I see. You not only buy children's books, but you are also an amateur comedian. Is that right, Mr. Joneser?
I do have my moments, but I'm not in the class of the brain. I'm actually a huge fan of your career, Bobby.
Huge is right. I hope you don't eat those comic books when you were stuck at home.
Yeah, that would definitely ruin the value and condition of the comics. Can't say that I would do that, but that is a good rib brain.
How do you like that, folks? When I can't get guests, they invite themselves on and sneak in anyway. Such is the power and might of the brain. We'll be back next week after I fire the security guard and we get this papyrus-loving weirdo out of the studio. Somebody get this guy out of here. Hustle. That's not a joke. Like yesterday even.
Mo2 Joneser away. Can you help me, Bobby? I'm stuck in the window frame.
Help your damn self. Just not to any more snack cakes. Okay, that's all the time we have. Good night.
Help! Help!
Cue the music and somebody shut that guy up. Welcome to the Bobby Heenan Show. Tonight's guest needs no introduction. Let's get straight into the interview, shall we?
We might as well, then.
So tell us, Sam, what the L in your name stand for. Lionel or Lamont, perhaps?
None of your damn business is what it stands for. Do you have any real questions for me?
Well, that is lamentable. Perhaps you can tell us about one of your earliest professional roles in a commercial for ketchup.
I can't accommodate that request, Bobby.
Why not?
Because it never happened. I was never in no damn sauce commercial. Come on now.
It also says here in my notes, you played Sebastian the Crab in Disney's The Little Mermaid and Mufasa on Broadway in The Lion King.
What you talking about, Bobby Heenan? Let me look at those notes. These notes are for Samuel E. Wright, the actor and singer from South Carolina.
Yeah, that's not you?
No, it ain't. I'm Samuel L. Jackson. You better do your own research next time.
Well, whoever you are, I certainly enjoyed you in those Taco Bell commercials. Hilarious.
No. I was never in no Taco Bell commercial. I'm Sam Jackson. You know, Do the Right Thing at Jurassic Park, Pulp Fiction, Die Hard 3, Nick Fury and The Avengers. That guy!
I love The Avengers.
So you have seen some of my work after all?
What was it like working with Julie Stevens and Diana Rigg as Emma Peel?
No, fool! Not that British Avengers, the 1963 Kirby and Lee Avengers comics they made into modern films.
I'm sorry, I've never heard of them. Wasn't Emma Peel a fantastic character?
I guess she was. She weren't no Foxy Brown. But I was never in that Avengers show, Bobby Heenan. Have you at least heard of Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, I heard about it, but I gotta be honest with you, Sam. I heard it's pretty violent, and that's not really my thing. My mother even told me not to watch it.
Too violent? You work in the world of professional wrestling, and a movie is too violent for you?
Well, Sam, I prefer my action in the ring, not on the screen.
Fair enough. But if you ever change your mind, Bobby, I'll make sure to hook you up with a copy. It's a classic, violence and all.
I appreciate that, Sam. Maybe one day I'll give it a shot. But for now, I'll stick to body slams and suplexes.
Do you have any real questions for me, now that we have some idea who I am?
Admittedly, no. But I can tell you I was the mastermind behind some of the greatest wrestling stunts and schemes of all time. My mind was like a steel trap, always calculating and outsmarting the competition. Whether it was managing top-tier wrestlers or pulling off elaborate heists to secure victory, I was always steps ahead. So while I may not have seen Pulp Fiction, I've lived my own action-packed drama right in the squared circle.
Bobby, you are one crazy-ass fool. I think it's time we wrap this one up. I must admit, it has been entertaining. I genuinely don't know if this is a work, or you really are a complete ignoramus.
Thank you for noticing, Sam. Let's cue the music, and I've got to find out where Sam buys all those cool hats. What do you think about that?
You're all right, Bobby.
Join us here once again. Why would you? I don't know why they keep coming back. TV Guide magazine called us the worst thing on television, yet here are once more for the Bobby Heenan Show. Tonight's guest made some interesting films about Australia and men who wear pants with the bum ripped right out of them and have questionable choices in hairstyles. Won't you please welcome Mel Gibson?
Thanks, Bobby. It's okay to be here. What is this show about exactly? I've just got to light a cigarette. Hold on a minute, mate.
Normally you could not do that, but thankfully it's the 1980s, so we can still smoke indoors. What?
There's nothing better in life, mate, than smoking indoors. I mean, if you go outside, your ciggy might go out. Who the fuck wants that?
A long life philosophy to live by for sure. Now tell us about these men in tight leather pants and mohawks riding around in film about fuel and fantastic cars.
Fantastic car? That's the bloody Fantastic Four, you drongo. What film were you watching? Nah, mate, our film's got a truck driver, not even a real stunt man. And he didn't get paid, by the way. That's not a joke. Look it up. And it's got cars with spikes on them we borrowed from the cars that ate Paris. And of course, me old V8 Interceptor that needs the juice. Now that is a fucking car, mates.
Mel, we are really not supposed to swear. This is prime time here. They will have to apply those annoying high-pitched blipping sounds. I really hate doing that noise. It dries my throat out every time. It's such a chore.
Mate, do I look like I give two shits about that? Fuck your prime time and fuck your swearing rules. Hand me that carton of ciggies, will you, and fresh out.
Luckily, our catering budget is unlimited, so Mel can stay in flavor country over there. Jesus, I can barely see through the smoke cloud in the studio here.
If you think that's tough to see through, mate, imagine filming out in the freezing cold in the bloody desert. And when one of those dust storms rips through, you can't even see your own finger up your bum, mate.
What colorful language they have in Australia.
You're not wrong, you dodgy bastard. Pass me one of those, Angus, will you?
It's great to see a modern celebrity who only turns up for the free catering. Truly a man after my own stomach.
Bobby, after the show, we should go out for some beers. What's your poison, mate?
Well, whatever the other guy is buying or whatever you can hide under the table during a broadcast. That's my style.
Bobby, why don't we get the fuck out of here and hit the bars?
That sounds like a genius idea, as long as they don't hit back. Usually genius ideas are reserved for me. But once in a while along comes a cigarette-smoking man with a thirst for the juice.
Eurippa. Let's do it, Bobby. By the way, I might have smashed some of the set backstage earlier.
Who gives a shit about that? Our whole set is just trash to start with. You probably improved it. Now we can sell a bit of it as Smashed by Mel Gibson.
Okay, you drongos, play the theme music. Bobby and me are going to hit the bricks.
Indeed we are, whatever that means. Good night and fuck off, everybody. Oh, well, look who decided to grace us with their presence. The has-been washed-up relic himself, Tommy Lee Jones. Welcome to the Bobby Heenan Show, or should I say the I Can't Believe Anyone Still Cares About Me show. Tommy, what's it like to be stuck reliving your glory days as Texas Ranger Sam Gerard from The Fugitive?
Thanks for having me, Bobby. It's a real honor.
Honor? More like a pity invite. Now, Sam, Tommy, let's talk about your stellar career playing tough guys. Is it a stretch, or do you just naturally exude that I'm too old for this vibe?
It's all about the character, Bobby. You wouldn't understand.
Oh, spare me the method acting nonsense. Now, Tommy, those cowboy boots you mentioned, are they the only thing still holding your career together?
Unlike your jokes, Bobby, they've stood the test of time.
Test of time? More like the test of irrelevance. Now, speaking of irrelevant pursuits, chasing Harrison Ford in The Fugitive, did you ever stop and think, maybe I should chase after a career that's not already 6 feet under?
Bobby, I've had a successful career. Can't say the same for your hosting skills. Your insights are truly groundbreaking, Bobby. In my line of work, you learn not to waste time caring about things that don't matter, like your comments. It's all about the job.
A successful career? I've seen more success in a can of expired soda. Now let's play detective for a moment. If you had to track down a fugitive in the world of professional wrestling, who would be your prime suspect?
Maybe someone desperate for relevance, like yourself.
Oh, the irony, coming from a man clinging to a character from the 90s. Now, rumors about a sequel to The Fugitive, is that your attempt at a comeback or just wishful thinking from someone who peaked decades ago?
You never know, Bobby. Some of us still have a career. Now that you mention it, we already made a sequel. If you had done any research at all, you would know I played a U.S. Marshal, not a Texas Ranger, you dang fool.
Career? More like a retirement home for forgotten actors. I've seen better acting from my grandma's parrot. At least the parrot had some emotion. Now, before I wrap this up, can we get one more classic Sam Gerard line for the road?
I don't care.
Look, classic. Tommy Lee Jones, thanks for stopping by and reminding us all that some stars burn out faster than my interest in this interview.
Your pleasure, I'm sure.
Tommy Lee Jones, once again, he's so method that he stayed in character as a boring person even after the director yelled, "Cut!" Yeah, a real pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves for more washed-up guests on the next Bobby Heenan show, because apparently that's all I can get these days. Welcome, ladies and germs, to the Bobby Heenan Show, where the wit is razor sharp and the insults are as quick as a snapmare. Today we have a special guest, the one and only Jesse the Body Ventura. Neat. Well, look who decided to grace us with his presence. Jesse the Body Ventura, or as I like to call him, the mindless muscle man. Jesse, you know you were a wrestler once, right? I mean, they say you had charisma, but I'm pretty sure they meant your hair had more personality than you did in the ring.
Bobby, you always did have a way with words, but let's not forget that I was a Navy SEAL before I stepped into the squared circle.
The Navy SEAL, the only place where they found a use for you other than holding a microphone. I bet they trained you to intimidate enemies with your stunning commentary, right? Listen up, terrorists, I've got a bone to pick with you and I'll body slam you with my words. I bet they trained you real good in the SEALs to balance a ball on your nose and clap your hands too, right?
Bobby, you can't deny the respect the Navy SEALs command.
The only use I can see for holding your breath minutes at a time would be for when you are stuck in a long elevator ride with Andre the Giant. Now, respect, Jesse, I've seen more charisma in a wet mop than in your entire SEAL career. And speaking of wet mops, let's talk about your time as a wrestler. I heard your finishing move was the boring bomb. Did you ever consider a career change to counting sheep?
Bobby, I was an entertainer just like you.
Entertainer? Jesse, you were so entertaining in the ring that they had to pipe in crowd noise just to keep the audience awake. But hey, I guess if monotone mumbling was an Olympic sport, you'd have a gold medal.
Well, Bobby, at least I had a successful career as a politician. I even became the governor of Minnesota.
Politics, where everyone talks and no one listens. You were a governor, Jesse? I guess that makes you the master of the political pile driver, slamming the hopes and dreams of the people with every decision.
I made a difference in politics, Bobby.
It made a difference? Sure, Jesse. If by difference you mean making people regret their voting decisions, then congratulations, you're a real winner. I bet even the politicians were asking, can't we just have a recount without Ventura?
You can't deny my impact, Bobby.
Impact? Jesse, the only impact you had was on the snooze button of every Minnesotan who had to endure your term in office. But hey, maybe they should have known better than to elect a man whose idea of charisma is wearing feathered boas. Now, Jesse, speaking of feathered bows, let's not forget your fashion sense. I've seen more stylish outfits on scarecrows in a cornfield than on you in the ring. I mean, did you raid Elton John's closet and think, yeah, this is the look that'll strike fear into my opponents?
Bobby, my wardrobe was an expression of my unique personality. I was one of a kind.
Hey, one of a kind? You stole your style from Billy Graham and your body from Hogan. At best, you are three of a kind. I don't think I would bet on you for anything, Ventura. Your sense of style is like a fashion crime spree. No wonder the fashion police never caught you. They were probably too busy covering their eyes.
At least I spent more time running into the ring than out of it, Bobby. I was a personality and a force. You can't deny it.
A unique personality? Jesse, I've seen more personality in a cardboard cutout of a potted plant. And let's not even get started on your fashion choices. The only thing you managed to body slam was good taste.
Bobby, my time as a commentator in WWF was well received.
The commentary. I almost forgot about that. Jesse, your commentary was so insightful that I had to watch the matches on mute just to avoid falling into a deep sleep. I bet even the wrestlers were hoping for a career change after hearing you call their moves. Here comes the exciting armbar, folks.
My insights brought a fresh perspective to the audience.
Fresh perspective? Jesse, the only thing fresh about your commentary was the mint on your microphone. I heard you were considering a career in wildlife documentaries, narrating the thrilling lives of snails. Here we see a snail moving at a blistering pace of 0.03 miles per hour. Riveting stuff, Ventura.
Bobby, you can't deny the impact I had on pop culture.
Pop culture, now there's a phrase I never thought I'd hear in the same sentence as your name. Jesse, the only pop culture you impacted was the sale of earplugs to fans desperately trying to drown out your droning voice. If only they had an option to mute you in real life. Now that would have been a game changer. A fashion sense from Billy Graham, your body from Hogan. Have you ever had an original idea in your life, Ventura?
Bobby, you've always got something to say, don't you? It's almost impressive how you managed to talk so much without ever saying anything of substance. Bobby, at least I stood for something during my time in politics. What did you ever stand for other than bad fashion and cheap insults?
Jesse, in the world of politics, you were like a one-hit wonder, a catchy tune that everyone forgot about the next day. And as for me, I stood for common sense and the undeniable fact that I am, and always will be, the brain.
Listen closely, Mr. Heenan. Your idea of common sense is about as rare as a coherent sentence from you. Your brain might be the size of a peanut, but at least peanuts are useful for something to bomb. Unlike your contributions to the wrestling world. For someone who spent their entire career managing others, you sure didn't manage to make much of an impact in the ring yourself. The only thing you ever truly mastered was the art of avoiding a fair fight.
Well, Jesse, managing is an art form, and I was a Picasso in the squared circle. Unlike you, I didn't need a colorful wardrobe to distract from my lack of wrestling skills. And speaking of art, your commentary was like a bad abstract painting. Confusing, messy, and no one really understood what the heck was going on.
In SEAL training, where they taught us to endure interrogation techniques, it was truly more enjoyable than a Bobby Heenan interview.
And there you have it, folks. Another round of jabs on the Bobby Heenan Show, where we dive deep into the abyss of Jesse Ventura's career. Will Jesse ever recover from these verbal body slams? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. The laughter is here to stay, and the insults just keep on coming. He's bigger than Japan, made of oak, and has a nice tan. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Howdy, stranger.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you for asking. I don't know how you got that there chair in here, but I feel like an ant right about now.
One of us is in deep trouble.
Judging by the marks on the floor, I'd say it's the studio building deposit that is in trouble. We can wave goodbye to that one.
What's the matter?
Come on, don't bullshit me.
Do you think you could give us one of your iconic lines for the audience?
Get to the chopper!
Tremendous. Now moving along. So Arnold, I hear you've released a dance club mix. How strange. I believe we have a clip. Let's take a look at that now.
Yes.
Back to the carpet, 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 carpet. Back to the carpet. Bring it back to the carpet. Back to the carpet, carpet. Back to the carpet, carpet. Back to the carpet, carpet. Back to the carpet. Bring it back to the back to the back to the carpet.
Excruciating. Possibly the worst thing I have ever heard in my life. Did your manager sign off on this one?
Yeah.
Now I've seen bad acting. After all, I am a wrestling manager. The brain, as you already know. But in all my career, I've never seen such hammy dialogue and terrible acting. Talk about failing upwards in life. But your latest movie, Steel Justice Revenge of the Cyborg Dog Commando, aimed at children, has been called a cinematic abortion by film critics.
You son of a bitch.
Please don't hold back on my account. Tell us how you really feel.
When I promised to kill you last, I lied.
Arnold, this is just a chat show. No need to get physical. Please put that minigun away. Okay, it might be time to go, folks. Security. Cue the music. Oh, hell, he shot the sound guy.
Let's get to the chopper!
There is no chopper here, I assure you, sir. Please leave with a minimum of casualties. That one guy in the front row has been annoying all night. Kill him, but then please no more. Okay, now we really do have to go out the emergency exit. Everybody out now. Hustle, hustle, hustle! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bobby Heenan Show. Tonight we have a special guest, the one and only Sylvester Stallone. Sly, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bobby. It's great to be here.
Well, it's great to have you, but I gotta say, you're a bit shorter in person. Did you have to climb a step stool to get on this chair?
Hey, I may not be the tallest guy, but I've got a big personality.
A personality? That's what they call it now? I thought you were auditioning for Mini Rocky, but let's talk about your movies. Rocky, Rambo. Do you ever consider making a film called Shorty?
Not a bad idea, Bobby. I could be the toughest short guy in town. But Danny DeVito might have beaten me to it.
Toughest short guy? You're looking at him right here. Now, speaking of your movies, in Rocky, you punch a lot of meat. Is that because you're trying to make up for being vertically challenged?
Bobby, I think the meat punching has more to do with training for the ring, not my height. Bobby, you're really fixated on the height thing, huh?
Well, it's hard not to notice, especially when you need a booster seat for the interview. Now, let's talk about your workout routine. I hear you're doing a new exercise called the high jump. Is that just standing on your wallet?
My wallet's not that tall, Bobby.
Rocky, Rambo, The Expendables. I gotta say, your movies are like my aunt's meatloaf. Predictable, tough to digest, and everyone wonders why they keep coming back for more.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment, I guess.
Compliment? I was just trying to find a comparison for your filmography that didn't involve stairs or step stools. Now, speaking of The Expendables, is that what they call your movie contracts? Because they sure do seem to be expendable after the first blockbuster.
Hey, I've had some successful franchises, Bobby, you know.
You know, successful? I've seen root canals more successful than Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, and don't even get me started on Rhinestone. Did Dolly Parton give you singing lessons?
That was a unique experience.
Unique? I've had root canals too, but I didn't turn them into movies. Now let's talk about your writing. You wrote most of your movies, right? Huh?
Yeah, that's correct.
Writing? I thought you just drew stick figures and handed them to the director. No wonder your characters only speak in grunts.
I think my characters have a bit more depth than that.
Depth? I've seen puddles deeper than your character development. Now, Sly, you're known for your physique. Are you sure you're not in movies just to show off your biceps? Because your dialogue sure isn't stealing the spotlight.
Well, Bobby, the muscles don't hurt, do they?
They don't hurt, but your punchlines sure do. I heard you once considered a wrestling career. Any special moves? The step stool slam?
No, Bobby, just some good old-fashioned brawling.
Brawling, huh? I hope you've been practicing your tiptoes. Now, Sly, we can't ignore the fact that you're a bit, shall we say, vocal. Are you sure you're not compensating for something?
What are you getting at, Bobby?
Well, with all that yelling in your movies, I figured you were just trying to be heard over the rest of the cast. Maybe invest in a megaphone, save your vocal cords.
Nice one, Bobby. I'll keep that in mind.
Sly, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Just remember, in the world of Hollywood, they may call you a heavyweight, but in my book, you're a featherweight.
Always a pleasure, Bobby. You never fail to entertain. My grandkids are watching this show, so at least you'll have an audience of 2 or 3 this week.
Okay, yeah, it's time to go. We will see you next time on The Bobby Heenan Show. Play the music.